Elite Dangerous is a game that I've spent a little time in. At least enough to where I feel like I can give my thoughts on it. Enough to play competently. Holy shit, that was close. I almost got marked by the station for that. One of the many things that I love about this game is just how vast it is. I mean, you're talking about a whole galaxy, 400 billion stars with a B, where you can just go anywhere you want, do anything you want. You're just a lone pilot in a galaxy full of pirates and aliens that want to kill you, and it's completely up to you how you deal with that. Will you be an explorer that ventures far away from the bubble and collects data from far off unexplored systems? Or will you be a bounty hunter that wanders from system to system blasting any pirate he sees? Maybe you'll join the Anti-Xeno initiative and take out as many Thargoids as you can, and help repel them from the shores of the bubble. This game is almost limitless in what role you can take, and I think that's what drew me to it in the first place. This is one of those games where you can go to any system and find a planet to land on and explore the entire surface of that planet. Granted, you'll have to find a landing spot, and you'll have to try not to do what I did and boost while not aiming above the horizon. Yeah, don't do this, kids. It's bad for your health.
Hull integrity critical. Eject. Eject. Eject.
You know, I can't even be mad. That that was entirely on me. The funny thing is, if I had brought my fleet carrier with me, I would have just been able to respawn on it instead of sending myself back to Sol, which is like 600 light years away from where I wanted to be. Unfortunately though, my fleet carrier is off in Guardian territory because of a friend. He wanted me to ferry him over to one of their ancient ruins to farm for materials. So instead of that, I got to spend another 20 minutes or so jumping back to that system. Then had to do another spectrum scan of it and another surface scan of the planet that I just tried to land on to collect floral data. Learn from my mistake, kiddos. Don't boost into the side of a mountain. It hurts. That aside, exploration is one of my favorite things to do in this game. While I hate that most planets are just these barren wastelands, and the ones with life on them are mostly barren, there's something peaceful about getting in your SRV and just driving for hours exploring the terrain. I do hope that Frontier adds more variation to what you can find though. It'd be nice to find some random cave to go cave diving into. I have a lot more gripes with this game's exploration, but I'm saving my criticisms for the next Elite video that I post. I think my favorite thing about exploration is that you're not limited to where you can go. There are no invisible walls, no restrictions. As long as there's a path of stars that are close enough for you to reach with your jump range, you can go there. I often find myself fantasizing about what it would be like to do what I like to do in Elite. Honestly, it's the only game that I do that with. I'll just ask myself what I'd do if I could take any ship from the game and bring it into real life. Most of the time, I'd end up with the same answer. I'd choose to take my cutter, gather as many of my friends and family as I can, and just go exploring. I have a few ideas of where I would go for my first destinations. Alpha Centauri, Orion's Nebula, maybe even Sagittarius A. Then I'd just go wherever. Maybe I'd try to find some alien life, or maybe I'd find a planet far away from Earth to settle down on. I'd probably only come back for visits with the people I care about, to be honest. The truth is, when I play this game, I just let myself get lost in it. Something about this game lets me forget how bad things are right now. When I'm at the helm of my ship, I'm not just some cart pusher that worries every day about whether or not I'll wake up to my state having passed laws to keep me from loving who I want to love as a bisexual man. Or if the next president of my country is a narcissistic clown with a bad spray tan, or a literal psychopath who tortured people in Gitmo when he was in the military. I believe this game has become somewhat of a hyperfixation for me as an autistic person, the same way writing has. While writing is far easier to explore with my imagination, with Elite, I actually have some form of visual media that I can interact with. Sure, I can't turn my pilot into a badass who can turn entire battlefields into pits of flame, or summon storms to wipe out my enemies in Elite, but I don't need to. This game makes me feel like enough of a badass with how I can vaporize ships with my Corvette. And, like with writing, I can make my own stories in Elite. This is a game where you start from nothing, barely anything to your name except the weakest all-rounder in the game, and 10,000 credits. You have to build yourself up, you have to make a name for yourself, and even then, it's incredibly rare that you'll ever end up on Galnet, and unless you actively engage with the community, no one will ever know who you are. I'm not sure what, but something about that just makes me giddy. Sure, games like Halo, Skyrim, and Destiny are fun for me too. I love being the center of attention in video games. But there's something about the way Elite handles individual players that just makes me crave it. You're not some chosen one in Elite. You're not going to single-handedly fight off the alien threat on our shores. You're not going to save the galaxy from superweapons or defeat the world-eating dragons alone. You have to work with the community in some way if you ever want to be recognized. And even when you're being recognized for doing those things, it's not just you. It's also the hundreds, if not thousands of other players you've helped along the way. I love that in games. I know Elite isn't the first game to do this, but it's the one that I fell in love with. It's the game that I hope never ends, even though I know it will someday. When that day comes, I hope I'll have found another game to replace it, because I think I'll be pretty lost without a game like Elite. Sure, it's not the best game in the world, it has its problems, and I'll be addressing those in my next Elite video. But no other game has gotten me hooked like this. I can look past the problems that it has, however frustrating or infuriating or mind-numbing they may be, and I can still just sit down and play for hours. One of these days, I want to find a group of players like me. Players who have the time and energy to spend hours playing and exploring this game. I want to take them on an expedition into the black and just live out dreams of being long-term explorers. I want to bring them to a planet and go down to the surface as a team, documenting every plant, finding canyons to race in, mountains to climb on and jump off of. I want to spend so much time out in the black that I run out of fuel in my reserves for my carrier. I want to spend time with them as we mine for tritium in the icy rings of some gas giant and talk about our day out in the real world. One of these days, I want to find friends to play with who I can bond with over this game like I had on Xbox. When I started playing, I started on console. And after a few mistakes and eating a capital ship's arsenal for breakfast, I ended up finding friends like that. We'd spend hours just hanging out, building our ships and our wealth. We'd plan our next bounty hunting mission or our next expedition together. But we all just kind of grew apart. For some of us, it was life, others just fell out of the game. But when I moved to PC, I lost the few friends that I had to play with. Well, I say lost, but we still talk a good bit. We just can't play anymore because they don't have a PC. Frontier killed console development, and for whatever ungodly reason, they had an archaic way to transfer accounts between console and PC. Basically, you could only transfer once, and you could only transfer your wealth. So, any ships or engineers you've unlocked, you'd have to do it again. Oh, and whatever account that you were transferring from got deleted, and if you ever wanted to play on that particular platform again, you would have to start over. Yeah, also, when I say it only transfers wealth, yeah, it didn't transfer any of the ships or engineers you unlocked, like I said. So everything that I had to do to get my cutter and my Corvette, I had to do all over again. Twice. Yeah, I have issues with this game, and that's definitely one of them. I hope I can find more friends like that, though. This game is fun for me as it is, but if I could find people to play with on a regular basis, that would make this game infinitely more enjoyable. It'd be even better if I could teach some of the ropes, help them along the way as they learned how to engineer and get better at the game. I'd love to take someone from complete newbie to pirate massacring bounty hunter or prolific explorer. Hell, I'd love to make a whole group around it. I'm waiting for the day that I can take new players under my wing and build a player group that teaches people how to play and goes on regular expeditions into the unknown. One of the things that's at the very top of my bucket list for this game is to form a whole team to take on an expedition. Hell, I already have some of the details worked out. We'd have at least 3 carriers with us, along with 2 pilots to act as scouts. They would go ahead of us and report back any icy rings we can use to refuel, and at least 2 miners to assist in refueling. Anytime we stopped to refuel, we, the carrier owners and the miners, would get together and replenish our carriers, then restock our reserves, and then we'd spend a few days just exploring the local area before we moved on. Then, when we found a nice looking planet, or even an Earth-like, we'd settle down for a couple weeks, go explore to our heart's content, and then move on to the next area before doing it all again. Ideally, I'd like to spend at least a year or 2 out there. At the very least, I'd spend a few months exploring like that. That would be the best experience. Even better if I could document it all on YouTube to live on as long as this website does. When I first started writing the script for the video that would later become this, I intended on it being more of a review. Some kind of introspective on my thoughts on the game. As I kept thinking about it though, I realized that I needed much more than just 25 or 30 minutes to express my full range of emotions. Elite is a game that I have complicated feelings about. I love and hate it, but clearly something keeps drawing me back. I think, for the most part, it's the part of me that wants to get away from the world around me that pushes me to keep coming back to this mess of a game. But for my first video back onto YouTube after 5 years of not uploading, I wanted to upload something that encapsulated my love and hope for this game before I dug into it. I have a lot of criticisms that I want to get into, and a fair bit of that will be rather harsh. It may turn people away from the game. There's a lot of things that keep me from playing it as much as I'd like to, but I still try to make time for it where I can. That being said though, this game isn't perfect. It has a lot of flaws, and as much as I've given love to it, it wouldn't be right for me to leave those flaws unacknowledged. I already have a video planned after this, but when I have the time, I plan on editing together a second part to this, where I'll go over all the flaws that drive me nuts. A lot of it, admittedly, is unchecked grind and wasted potential, but that will have to wait. If you like this video, why don't you give it a thumbs up? If you want to see what else I have in store, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I won't be uploading every day, as I do have a full-time job, but I'd like to upload more essay-style videos like this. If that's something that interests you, hi, I'm Kazame. You can call me Aaron. Nice to meet you. If you want chat, I have my Discord link down below, and if you want to know when I stream, follow me on Twitter. For now, though, I'll see you guys later. Have a good one.